Hey everyone, welcome back to the workshop, and today we are looking at the FoxAlien Masuter 3S. This is something that actually came out of a lot of questions on the live stream I do Sunday nights with David from the Clack Shack. People asked us our impressions of this CNC. We kept sending them over to James Dean Design, so he helped us out to get hooked up with this machine to check out and give you my impressions of it. And so we're going to take a look at that. We're going to run it through some paces, see what it can do, and I'll let you know what I think of it and how it might work in your workshop. So thanks to FoxAlien for sending this over. Thanks to everyone for requesting it. We're going to jump in and check this out. All right, so this is a kit-built machine. You're going to get it and unbox it. It is going to have a number of parts that you need to assemble. Now, they do have a lot of the kind of core pieces in sub-assemblies already done, but you do have to do some final assembly. And their manual here has really good instructions, very good diagrams on how to put this together. So I'm not going to go and do a full build review on this. I will put up kind of a bit of a time lapse of the build as I go through some of the features. So if you do have any questions on the build, if you get this machine, feel free to reach out to me. I'll do my best to answer those questions. But let's talk a little bit about the advertised features and specifications of this machine. All right, so the FoxAlien Masuter 3S is your typical 400 by 400 millimeter by 95 inch in the Z-axis, and that's about 15 3/4 square by 3 3/4 for working area. Pretty typical for these benchtop machines and some of the similar benchtop lasers we've looked at. The stock kit does come with a 400 watt spindle, and that does include an ER11 1/8 inch collet, which is nice. It's better than your typical trim router collet. And this isn't too bad to get started off with 1/8 inch bits that are also included. However, they do offer and include the bracket to install a 65 millimeter spindle or trim router. You can definitely start out with the 400 watt spindle. We'll talk a little bit later about what I was able to achieve with this one. Now, the base CNC machine itself is made out of extruded aluminum. The side rails are 23 by 60 millimeter extrusions. They do have steel rods and wheels along the sides for the X and the Y for the actual gantry movement, as well as HG15 linear rails on the Z-axis for that movement and locking in place. So this is a very rigid machine. It's not made of, it is made of aluminum, but it's not of kind of like the 20 by 20 extrusions that you might see on some of the smaller lasers and some of the very inexpensive CNC machines we've seen. They also do include a very nice, about 1/2 inch thick spoil board, and this does have 6 millimeter threaded inserts in it. So the whole laser is built up pretty well, and once you get it all assembled, it's fairly rigid. Now, as far as transmission control and drive on the X and Y axis, they do have GT2 6 millimeter belts for the drivetrain, and then it goes through pulleys, and then they have on the ends, they have ways to tighten those. And then on the X axis or the Z axis, they do have that driven by a T12 lead screw. So that combined with the NEMA 2376 closed loop stepper motors really provides some solid control. I wouldn't be worried about this being a belt driven machine. That does allow you more speed, especially if you're looking into the lasers. As a matter of fact, you do need to have to go in to edit it, but they say this is rated up to 10,000 millimeters a minute as far as travel speed. So if you do get the optional laser modules down the road, that will actually provide a better experience when using the laser options on it. Now, it does have limit switches on both ends of each axis, which is nice. It will keep the machine from extending too far while also allowing it to home and find its origin position that way. Now, it does also include some nice cable chain on both axes, and then a nice cable wrap going from the back to the control module on the side. So wire management and all those wires are run through beforehand. They work pretty well, and it's just a little bit of a trick getting installed, but the fact that they're all bundled together and you don't have to trace them through all the cable chain and that wrap is kind of nice. Just take your time, kind of get it laid out, and then lock it into those brackets. One thing I really do like on here, they do have these really tall dust guards along the axes. There's also one kind of on the back to keep it from kicking up a little bit. So that's going to help keep that dust and debris from getting on your rails and into your belts, which is going to be one of your big maintenance and wear items. You keep those clean, they're not going to wear down nearly as quickly as they could. I like seeing that implemented in there. That has a nice little tall wall and then a little lip that goes off the side. Still can get a little bit of dust on there, but it keeps the majority of it out of the way. Then it does have the nice control box off to the side, and they have some nice aviation plugs. All the cables are very well labeled in the back, so hooking it up is fairly straightforward. I do like that this is separate from the machine. Some of the other CNCs we've looked at, they might have the control box on the side, and that's just a concern from some of the dust and vibrations. And plus, if you want to enclose this, you might not want to put this in that environment. You like to keep this separate. It does have an e-stop button on there, and if you're using the attached spindle, it does have a speed potentiometer on there. So some things that you might want to have access to if you do decide to build an enclosure around this. They do offer the tools and such that come with it to build it. So that's a few Allen wrenches, as well as a couple of small wrenches for tightening and loosening the collet on the end mill. So don't want to lose those. They also include a Z probe, so it's a little aluminum block, and then an alligator clip that goes on the end of your end mill to allow you to do a very accurate probing for the Z axis. It doesn't do X and Y. You still have to do those manually in the software, but for a beginner machine, that's pretty standard, and it's really not too big of a deal. They also include a set of clamps. Now, these are kind of what they are. It's a pretty tall 6mm threaded rod with a knob on it, and then an adjustment screw here, and then kind of the bracket. It's all metal. They stick up really high. These are not my favorite. As a matter of fact, I didn't use them at all. I went ahead and used some 3D printed clamps and then just some 6mm socket head screws. They're much more low profile and they stay out of the way. Plus, if you hit your end mill onto one of these 3D printed clamps, it's no big deal. It's going to go through. It's not going to ruin your bit. If you have a 3D printer, these are pretty easy to replace. So I will have a link to these where you can download them and 3D print them out yourself. It was my preferred method to do it. These, as high as they stick up and the fact that they're metal, it's nice that they include something, but I would strongly encourage you, be careful using these because there is a high likelihood that you're going to crash into them with your end mill or your router. So nice they include something, but I wish they would stick with something a little less dangerous to the end mill and the beginner. And then finally, they do provide you with a starter set of 30-degree end mills. These are just V-bit engraving, so there's just that little kind of sharp point there. These are great for just fine point engraving, but they're not going to be good for pocketing or routing out your profile paths and such. So nice that they include some, but if you're looking into this machine, you're buying it, make sure you also pick yourself up a set of bits. You're gonna want like a down cut end mill and probably some tapered, like ball nose tapered sets. That'll help you to get started with a lot of the work that you're gonna do with this. So let's take a quick look at the software and computer side of this CNC machine. This is a GRBL device, and so you're gonna need some drivers to get it connected. And they do include a flash drive. So I'm going to come over to this screen here, and in the flash drive, this USB drive E, there is a Masuter 3S folder, and in there is a software folder. Now the UGS platform, that is the actual controller software, the G-code sender to the controller. But if you open up this other link, this PDF, it'll bring you to this screen. It has a number of different softwares that are compatible with it. And then also the download links for it. But down here at the bottom, we have the driver, and that's the CH340 driver. That's the one we're looking for within Windows to be able to make it detect the device. It'll show up as a COM port, and then you'll be able to have your software find the actual CNC machine. So if you've had a diode laser before, you probably already have this driver in there. But if this is your first GRBL machine, as far as a laser, CNC or not, you're going to need to download and install that driver. Once you have that, you do need to have some control software. Now, in their folder, they do have this UGS platform, and you can get that installed, this universal G-code sender. It works fine, but there's one I actually have found that I like a little bit better, and that is G-Sender. It's put out by CNC Labs, at least that's where I found it, and it does work with any GRBL based CNC machine. And so you can check out all the information here, and you can download it from the site. It is free to use, and so it doesn't cost you anything, but it does have a few extra features that I've actually appreciated using this software. So let's actually get that connected, and we'll show just a few of the basics of getting the machine hooked up to it. All right, so I've got G-Sender open up here, and I'll probably end up hiding my face because we're going to need to see a few more buttons on here. So we're going to go ahead and get me out of here. But you see, this is kind of the base screen, and it says disconnected. Now, if you've installed the CH340 driver, you can come up here, go to connect to machine, and if it recognizes a device, it's going to show it in the list. And we do see it right here. We've got COM7. It sees a GRBL device at that. So we can simply click there, and that should bring up and connect. You'll see up here it says connected, and it is wanting to home the machine. It's going to want to do that each time. So I'm going to go ahead and click to run homing, and you'll see back behind me, the machine is going through. It's going to home Z first, and then it's going to bring both X and Y up to the front left corner of the machine. It's going to trip off of those limit switches we showed earlier on all the axes, and it'll set kind of the home origin for the machine. Once this is complete, then we can come in here. We can actually set our zero out, our X and Y and Z, but I'm also going to show you how we can set up the probe. You do need to check the probe thickness, but we can do that up here. We can go to this little gear icon, and we come to probe, and the part we're worried about here is this Z thickness. And so you've got your aluminum block probe, and the machine needs to know how thick this is. So hopefully you have caliper, and you can just measure the thickness of this. So it's going to be top to bottom. We want to measure this thickness in millimeters, not in inches. So this one is saying 14.9 is what I have in there. And what that does is tell the machine that when it touches off of this top plate, to know to the offset of the Z is going to be that distance. So every block might be just slightly different. You want to double check it because this will help in your accuracy of your pocketing or your through cuts. Now the way this works is this alligator clip goes on the end mill, and then when these touch, it completes a circuit, and that's how it detects that it's touched the surface. So it'll bring it down slowly, touch off, it'll bring it down slowly again just to double check, and then it'll know 14.9 millimeters below that is where the 0 point is. All right, so once we have that set up, we can now control the machine here. We've got our jog control, so we've got our Y plus or minus, X plus or minus. Your corner ones will operate both at the same time, and then Z up or down. It is important to note down below here, you've got your X, Y move, and this is every time you click that button, it's going to move that axis 5 millimeters. Now, if I press and hold, it will move the machine until I let go, and this is in any direction. Same with Z, except that one's going to move this. So you can adjust these. So if you're trying to dial in your 0 point and move it right over it, you can take this down to tenths of a millimeter to help really dial in where that 0 point is. So once you've got your CNC machine moved and your end mill kind of pointed over the origin point that you've set up in your software, you can go ahead and click your 0x, 0y, and that will reset the origin, not the home, but the origin of the CNC to those. And then for 0, you can do the same thing. You can move it so to where it's just touching the top of the material or touching the spoil board, or we can use our probe tool down here to get that set up with the offset that we programmed in. After that, you do need to use another software to create your files, but if you have your files, we can click this load file, and I had my all my kind of test engravings here. So if we just took, let's see, I will be showing you this a little bit later, but a bottle opener. We can load that up. It'll give you a preview of the path. You can do a verified job, and it'll just kind of go through and just ensure that everything looks good. And kind of as it goes through the job, you'll see those lines turn yellow. You can also do an outline. This is similar to a frame and a laser, where it'll move the gantry around the edges of the extents of the object, just to kind of give you a visual representation that it's going to be moving in the right spot. Once everything's good, if you're happy with it, you can hit Start Job. and then it is going to, with you're using the stock spindle, it'll turn the spindle on, and then it will first quick check, go back to origin, zero and about a 25 millimeter safe height, and then it'll start and move the job from there and complete it. And then shut it down to the end. So that's the software kind of in a nutshell. I am not going to go too in depth on it here because we want to take really a look at what the machine can do. I will try to do more of a first project with your CNC video to follow this up a little bit later. If that's something you're interested, definitely leave a comment down below and I'll make sure to try to tailor that to the people that request it. But at this point, let's jump back out to the shop and take a look at what I was able to do with this machine. So what was I able to get done with this machine? Well, as I mentioned, they do come with those initial 30-degree bits. And so I did, if you can see it on here, just did kind of a logo engrave into some 1/4-inch maple here, just using that V bit to try to do the details and get some, some of the pocketing in there on the logo. And this did work out okay. Like I say, it does do some detail, but depending on your material, if you can see in there, some of that just started to chip away a little bit. So you want to make sure you have a pretty decent, stable material if you're going to be doing fine detail engraving at a shallow depth with this one. But did work out pretty well. I did set up all my files in VCarve Pro, exported it using the GRBL in post processor into GSender, and didn't run into any issues with this. Just a very light sanding on the end of this, and came out pretty nice. So then I did swap out for some of my end mills, and I will try to talk about them as we go along. For this next one, I was using a Downtown Jenny from Cadence Manufacturing. This is an 1/8-inch bit. And it has a down cut spiral so that it's going to push the fibers down instead of pulling them up. And so ran that in just a small scrap of walnut here, ended up coming down, did about a 16th inch depth of cut, and ran it at about 40 inches a minute, being kind of conservative for the bit, ramping in and then a 40% step over. It did a pretty good job, and I have not trammed the machine, and I really didn't do any sanding on this, just a light cleanup. And if you look very close, I don't know that I can get it to show up on camera. You might be able to see some slight witness marks from the path of the bit. But with a mixture of tramming as well as using the right bits and such, that will come out very easily. I really can't feel it, so it's really probably just a quick sand, but this is I think it's under 4 inches square on the outside, so getting much of a sander in there is a little tough. But this was just a scrap piece to see how it would do. And the outside, I did do just a little light sanding on that as well, if I can get it focused in on that. But it did come out very nice and smooth, and everything worked well. So I used the 1/8 inch down cut bit to do a little bit more of an engraving, a little more of a pocket. This is about an 1/8 inch depth. And just kind of set up a smiley face vector graphic in there and had it cut it out. And it worked pretty well. As you can see on this cedar, not a lot of fuzzies coming up on it from that down cut bit. There is a little bit just in the, the grain there. Softwoods are not the best for routing and getting super clean cuts. You'll always have a little bit of fuzziness with them over, more dense hardwoods, but they tend to be a little more forgiving on some of your first cuts. So just a simple profile path on all these worked pretty well. And then I was able to step up into the more advanced pocketing. So after doing the little catch-all tray, grabbed another scrap piece out of the bin. This is a piece of elm, and wanted to do a 3D relief. So this is part of Vectrix software. It's you can purchase and or you get to pick some when you purchase the software as kind of starter ones. And I started out with the 1/8 inch Downtown Jenny again, do pocketing and clearing to remove the bulk of the waste. And then I had some 1/8 inch, I think it tapered down to a 16th inch ball nose. Set that up with something like I think it was a 4 or 5% step over, and ran that at a 45 degree. And it came out pretty well. There are some lines going in that direction, so I could probably either increase the step over or just have it do a second pass at 90 degrees to the first one would really clean it up. But just some light sanding, used a dust mop on the drill press, got that cleaned up. And I think the clearing path and the finish path for this complete time for this was about an hour, and this is about a 4-inch round logo. So it did come out pretty well, pretty happy with that. And again, I didn't lose any steps, didn't bog down, worked pretty well through the whole process. One of the things I do a lot with the CNC machines is these catch-all trays and serving trays and such. And so again, had some scrap piece. Now this is a piece of spalted maple, so you get a lot of that, kind of those dark lines there, which can add or detract from things depending on how you're looking at it. And then I did just finish these off with some, basically some cutting board oil on this one. So wanted a very soft finish to it. And again, use the 1/8-inch downtown Jenny bit to do the bulk of the pocket and the relief cut or the profile cut. And if you can see in there, I don't know if that's going to show up. It was kind of shallow. I did also include, this is kind of the school logo in there. It's a diamond with a swoosh in the middle of it. To just try that with a mixture of, use the 1/8-inch Jenny to do the bulk of the removal, as well as then one of those V cut, those 30-degree V bits to get the corner detail. And that came out okay, but it's hidden because of all the striping here with the spalting maple. So I went ahead and did that in cherry, and here you can actually see that logo a little bit better. I also finished this with some spray lacquer. Again, same thing, did the 1/8-inch downtown Jenny for the bulk of this, and then used, in this case, a tapered ball nose from Speed Tools. Now this one doesn't quite have the fine definition of the points with that ball nose going up. And so I should have probably used a smaller one or switched back to a V-bit for that. But some of it was just experimenting with a few bits with this machine. But again, this whole thing, the pocketing was the bulk of it, and with the 1/8-inch bit takes a little bit longer. But I think that was about half hour for that and the initial profile. And then the touching up on there was for the tapered ball nose was about another 6 minutes or so. That part goes fairly quick because it's not having to hug out so much material. So again, roughly 30 minutes or so on these, and this is about a 4-inch by 7.5-inch tray. So obviously you could work faster with larger bits, but at least getting started, you can see some of the things you can do with this machine. Now, seeing that the stock spindle does have an ER11 collet on there, you can purchase 1/4-inch collets for that and just swap them out. And so I did try some 1/4-inch bits with that, the stock spindle, and you could run them, but I felt like it was really pushing it. And as a matter of fact, I started noticing a little more chatter in it at that point. So the stock spindle does have 400 watts of power to it. Like I say, it does really well with 1/8-inch bits, but when I stepped it up to 1/4-inch, it started to struggle. Most trim routers are going to get you into that 650 to 710 watts of power, so not quite double, but you also are adding a lot of rigidity to that spindle. It's just going to be less deflection, and so you can generally add a little more speed without getting the chatter at that point. So that's what I did, and grabbed one of my files that I have out on Etsy, swapped out to a 1/4-inch downtown Jenny bit, and made this bottle opener. So this has a variety of features. So it pockets out kind of the round part first, then steps down for this relief for the bottle cap, pockets out kind of your hook finger hole there, and then does the profile pathing. I did not use the round over option on this. I could have swapped out and done that, but I wanted to do both sides, so I just did that on the standard router table. This, using that 1/4-inch collet or 1/4-inch bit on the trim router, only took about 4 minutes to do all of those paths on here. And if I laid this out on a board, I could probably get 3 across, depending on size, and you could be able to crank these out pretty quickly on there. And so if you have some scrap wood, this is just some Western red cedar that I had from a couple projects. Nice thing to be able to add to your offerings. And then the backside, you could either engrave using the V-bit with this, or if you have a diode laser or CO2 laser or something, you could drop these in there and add some custom engravings as well. So just another idea what one of these little benchtop machines do, and the fact that jumping up to those 1/4-inch bits, especially if you can jump up to the larger router on there, it's going to help you out a lot. So then also wanting to test out a little more cutting on there, I did kind of draw up and cut out this trivet. So this is about 6 inches, 6.5 inches square. and all these pockets. Again, this was all done with that 1/4 inch downtown Jenny, both the inside cuts and the outside cuts. Now, I have not done anything to this as far as sanding, so just to kind of show you hopefully the finish quality of that, fairly smooth, a little bit of fuzziness on some of these just as it goes across the grain there on those, if I can get that to focus on there. But the finish, you're not seeing like witness marks on there as it steps down, because I was taking, I believe, 1/8 inch passes on here. So you can just maybe kind of see them there, but that's very, very mild, easily sanded out. And then this whole operation took 12 minutes to do all these interior paths and then the profile. And this was 1/2 inch thick solid cherry. So it handled that just fine. I did have some tabs in there, so I popped those out, and then you could sand the rest out. But again, a project that wouldn't take too much time, and something you can add to your offerings. So those are some of the initial tests I did with the machine. I was fairly happy with all of them. There are definitely more things you could do with this. Epoxy inlays, inlays of multiple types, species woods. That is all definitely possible with this machine. You are going to want to get to learn kind of the basics of the machine first, see what it can do, and then start playing with some bits. That's some of the areas where I think maybe they could improve on this kit. Like I mentioned earlier, those stock clamps made out of metal, I just don't like them. They stick up too high and they're kind of dangerous, especially for someone first getting into a CNC machine. So again, I will have links down below where you can find the files for these 3D printer ones, and then just get yourself some 6mm, and I think these are 25mm long socket head or button head screws. Those will work a lot better for you. Another thing is the dust boot. Now, this isn't included with the kit. They do have a fairly decent one. This comes off the base so you can do your zeroing. I did have to 3D print an adapter to go to my dust extractor. Depending on the size hose you have, you may need to use some rubber gaskets, tape it up, or it might slide on and fit. Again, a 3D printer helps in kind of modifying these things to fit your setup. This one works okay. This base part does screw off, and I think they have 2 different size of the bristles on there. And so it does kind of just attach to the spindle. It raises and lowers, it doesn't float. So it works okay. It's better than nothing. Definitely improved the dust collection. I just wish this was included with the base machine. You really need to have dust collection with these. It keeps the machine working better, it keeps your bits working better, and you're not at risk of inhaling any sort of, you should be making chips, but you sometimes make a little bit of dust with these as well. So just overall, I feel it should be included. The stock spindle, it's great for 1/8 inch bits, but 1/4 inch bits kind of seem to bog it down, and you really had to back off your speeds with those. So I'd love to see, now they do have their trim router option. It's about $100. That is kind of their 65mm spindle, but you'll also need to pick up the relay if you want everything automated. I would love to see maybe a spindle that works in here with the stock controller that maybe hit that 600 watt range or so. But really get yourself a trim router, maybe pick up the 50mm or the $50 relay, and then you can still have the automatic on-off option to your spindle, and as well as your dust collection. It has dual ports on that. The other thing I would love to see is more variety in the stock bits they provide. As I mentioned earlier, they give you a pack of about 8 to 10 of those 30-degree V bits. Great for doing some simple engraving type things, but you're really going to probably want to have like a flat end cutout bit, 1/8 inch down cut or maybe compression bit. You're going to want probably some tapered ball nose and or some maybe wider V bits for doing some larger engravings and such. So just be nice if they maybe included a couple of cutting bits along with the engraving bits, just so that you could work on both of them. All right, so this is where I think I'll wrap up this initial video on the FoxAlien Masuter 3S. We're going to be doing more with this machine. I want to do some more projects with this, and like I said, we've got that 800mm wide upgrade to do with this as well. So once again, I want to thank FoxAlien for sending this out. They had no strings attached to it. They just said, hey, check it out, tell us what you think, tell your viewers what you think. And so that's what I did. So I hope I gave you some good information on this machine. If you have any specific questions or comments, go ahead and leave those down below. Tell me what you think about it. Tell me what, if you don't have a CNC machine, what would you use one for? we're going to try to take some of that and maybe make some future videos out of that. And I'd definitely love to answer any of your questions you have. If you are interested in buying one of these, I will have a link down below. It is an affiliate link. It will give me a little bit of kickback, but most importantly, it lets them know you found my information useful. So if you are considering buying one of these and you want to support the channel, always appreciate you using the link, but no pressure. Most importantly, I'm just happy to give you some better information on this to see if it will work for you. And lastly, my friend David over at the Clack Shack also got one of these machines, and so he's been using it and doing some tests. I'll have a link down to his video down there below as well. You can go check that out. And he and I do a live stream Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Central, where we answer a lot of questions from viewers about lasers, CNC routers, 3D printers. We share a little bit of what's going on in our shop, what things are new out there. So if you want to catch us live, maybe ask a question or just check it out, go subscribe to my channel. You'll get the notification to when those go live. Otherwise, stop by and check us out. Like I say, Sunday evenings, 7 p.m. Central, and join in on the fun. So thanks again for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And please do leave some comments down below. Hit that like button. If you're new here, consider subscribing. And we'll be back at it again out in the workshop with something new. But I hope in the meantime, you can get out in your workshop and make something too. We'll catch you next time.